I would like to welcome you to the Special Food Live 2021 Marketing and Branding Feedback Session. Let me introduce myself. My name is Cosmas Mamunze. I'm the Portfolio Manager at USAID Southern Africa Trade Investment Hub, looking after South Africa. So briefly, the Special Food Live 2021 Marketing and Branding Session is as a result of the Special Food Live event that took place in January 19 to 22, where we had 23 companies, exhibitors from the region participating under the USAID Trade Hub, supported Africa Fine Foods Pavilion. So USAID Trade Hub, over and above supporting participation, also visited, interacted with the exhibitors, and felt there's something that could be shared, and hence the purpose, and hence this session to give feedback in terms of how companies can enhance their subsequent participations in similar online, virtual events, even physical events. Marketing remains critical. So this session is going to discuss that. So for the benefit of those that are joining us for the first time, I'm going to talk briefly about who we are. So USAID Southern Africa Trade Investment Hub, it's a regional project which works to increase sustainable economic growth, global export competitiveness, and trade in Southern Africa. And we do this, we've got three objectives that we follow. So we do this by increasing exports. So exports from Southern African countries to South Africa. So from 7 countries that we work in to South Africa, the 7 being Botswana, Eswatini, Lesotho, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, and Zambia into South Africa. And the second, to promote exports from the 8 countries, or the 8 countries to the United States, capitalizing on the African Growth and Opportunity Act, which is due to expire on September 30, 2025. Then the other way of meeting the above mandates is to boost capital and technology flows from South Africa to the other 7 countries. So in terms of our meeting here, as indicated already, that it's a result of an event that took place, and the purpose there was to take advantage of AGOA, meeting with US buyers, so that we could export our special foods from the region to the United States under AGOA. So that's the purpose of this session. So that's USAID Trade Hub for you. This session, we've got our colleagues that will be leading this session. If you can just go to the program session, Tsepiso, the program slide. So the program for the day looks as follows. So we've done the welcome. I'll introduce the moderator, Dr. Sally Dafoe. Then we've got the feedback from the Special Food Live event by Mamosa Makaya. Then question and answer by our moderator, it will be led by our moderator. Then we will have closing remarks from Francis Fraser. So by way of introduction, we've got Dr. Sally Dafoe. Just a second. Dr. Sally Dafoe will be moderating this session. Sally is a seasoned and development professional. She's got over 12 years experience in communications, knowledge management, and monitoring and evaluation. She has worked on a number of projects in regions, including Europe and Africa, and various projects. So she's going to moderate this session. So allow me to hand over to Dr. Sally Dafoe, and allow me to wish you colleagues a great session. We're hoping that when we have similar events, either virtual or physical, where we have got to showcase what Southern Africa has to offer the world, would have enhanced representation, the regional flag raised high. All the best. Sally, over to you.
Thanks for that introduction, Cos. It gives me great pleasure today to welcome you all to this highly anticipated interactive session on marketing and branding following SFL 2021. Good morning and good day or good evening to you, wherever you're joining us from. Today's event is going to be feedback on your participation in SFL 2021, which took place a little over 2 months ago. And I say highly anticipated because for some of you, or for many of you, SFL 2021 was the first time you took part in a virtual trade show of this scale. And so you are quite keen to get some first-hand feedback on how you perform in terms of marketing and branding. And for the rest of you who are quite seasoned exhibitors or virtual exhibitors, there's always an opportunity for you to lend a few tips on how you could take your branding and marketing to the next level. So I believe this session that we are coming to have today will first of all give you an insight into how you all perform generally, but also some best practices that we captured from our involvement in the event which took place in January. So our presenter for today, Tepisa, if you could move over to the next slide. Our presenter for today is Ms. Mamosa Makaya. Mamosa joined us in October last year as the Regional Communications Manager for the USA Trade Hub. She became a critical member of the communications team, bringing energy and vigor to our communications portfolio, ensuring great visibility for our various activities, of which there are many across the 8 target countries. She brings aboard considerable experience as a communications and marketing professional, over 2 decades, most of it in the region. So she has quite a bit of an insight into, of course, Southern African brands and how to build them up. So I can think of no better person who is better qualified than Mamosa to present the feedback on how marketing and branding transpired in SFL 2021. Over and beyond her communications acumen, she also had close involvement in the proceedings at the event. She liaised with many of the exhibitors. She provided feedback on how they were performing in the African Fine Foods Pavilion. So she will be sharing, first of all, her insight, first-hand experience from how you all performed, but also she will be sharing some tips on how we can improve our marketing and branding and what are the strategies to do virtual branding, which is going to remain even critical as we move into a post-COVID world. Once again, on housekeeping rules, please be mindful that you have your mics and videos off when you're not speaking. We do have a question and answer session right after her presentation. But while she's making her presentation, if there are any questions that are pertinent, please feel free to raise them in the chat box, and we would address them when we get to the Q&A question. So Mamosa, over to you.
Thank you very much, Sally, for that great introduction. I'm delighted to be here this morning to give this feedback, and I thoroughly enjoyed the Specialty Food Live event, and so it'll be very easy for me to go through what I observed and what I recommend. So I'll just go through the slides with you, and then we can take some questions at the end. So thank you, Chapisa. Please, we go to the first slide? Yes. So the discussion points for this morning, I'll give you an overview of the event, and then I'll give an analysis of yourselves as exhibitors. We'll go through what we will call the optimal use of virtual platforms going into the post-COVID era, and then recommendations in general on how we can work to get ourselves out there in the market, to make ourselves visible, and to be more competitive. Next slide, please. Next slide, please, Chapisa. Okay. So the objective of the event was to attract buyers in the United States market and to create linkages, to create export opportunities for Southern African countries under the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act. Sorry, Thapiso, please go to the previous slide. Okay, thanks. And to position Southern African specialty food brands as the best in meeting the market's needs. Next slide, please. All right, so with exhibitor best practices, what we're talking about is what one would have achieved if they were in the pavilion and within their stalls in the best way possible. So displaying products accompanied by descriptions, images, or videos, or both. Displaying products on the community page that was part of the platform that we were using. Communicating with the USAID Trade Hub team on how to improve visibility, and responding to potential buyer inquiries. So that would have been the optimal level of performance as an exhibitor, and what we would call best practices. Next slide, please. So I'm going to give you best practices and bad practices. So this is the observation that we had as we perused through your stall, and this is what would have happened if we had a physical event. So I would have been walking through the stall, or somebody else would have been walking through all the stalls to see how the exhibitors are performing, how they're displaying their products, whether they are visible, whether they're attractive, whether the stall is speaking to the value of the product, whether the exhibitors are friendly. So virtually, this is then what I had to do. So some exhibitors who achieved good levels of marketing and branding did the following. They displayed products with videos and images with a good description of the product, value, and marketing and market positioning. They provided a full and clear description of products and contribution in the value chain. They navigated the virtual platform and posted in the community page, creating higher visibility of themselves. They linked website and social media pages for buyer follow-up capability. And some did not at first have enough products displayed, but they soon improved the variety of photos and videos and their community presence. So because it was a 3-day event, it would take a bit of time to familiarize yourself with how to navigate the space, seeing that there's a community page, posting in there, seeing what other exhibitors are doing, and being able to follow suit. Okay. And next slide, please. So The previous slide, please, Sedusa. What I termed bad practices. So obviously I'm looking with a critical eye, so I have to give you the best feedback on this as possible. There are some companies who, for the better part of the event, did not have someone mute? Thank you. Okay. So they had an empty storefront with no logos and no images in the pavilion. They provided no description of their products on the storefront. Yet, sorry, can you kindly mute Silalelo? Okay, thank you. Provided no description of their products on storefront, yet had a very good website, which they could have used for content to describe their products. So others, while they had a wide variety of a good product range, they only showcased very few images in the pavilion. And some did not link their website and social media pages. And a lot of exhibitors did not use the community page to display or advertise their products. So obviously, this is like a view that is not cutting across to everybody. There are some who achieved or improved on this within the first day. Some achieved better practices within maybe towards the last day. So it was an experience that was new to some. And so obviously there would have been some hiccups along the way. Next slide, please. Can we move to the next slide? So now I'm going to discuss some tips on optimal use of platform facilities. So for example, posting in the community page. The advantage of posting in the community page is that it gives you higher visibility to potential buyers. It allows you insight into competing brands from other pavilions and countries. This is where all the exhibitors from all the countries and all the pavilions advertise their products. So you can take one of your products, or basically you can upload one video or one image of each product, but you can post them as many times as you want. You're able to once others are able to see your products, it can drive traffic to your own store, and it creates interest from content writers as well, because some of the people who attended the event were content writers. They write for companies such as Amazon, and they write for food blogs, they write for food magazines as well. So being a specialty food event, there are buyers who are looking for those niche products, and there are writers who write for those audiences. Next slide, please. Next slide, please.
Apologies, Mama.
Yes.
I think the animations are slowing down the transition.
Oh, okay. Thank you. All right. So under optimal use of platform facilities, I'll discuss linking your website and social media. What is the advantage of doing so? So this allows potential buyers to easily contact you after the event, sometimes during the event. When they see what they like, they can easily just call you, or they can drop an inbox in your social media platform. This creates credibility and shareability of company profiles. So in the modern world now, social media actually, funny enough, gives you credibility as a company. It's like if you don't have a social media page, audiences wonder whether you're real, whether you are really able to meet their needs. I know that's not a standard as such, but this is the world that we're living in now. Social media is the space where people actually verify your existence. They check the videos to see that your product really looks like what you say it looks like. And by being able to share your company profile, so buyers are able to share this with potential partners as well. So a buyer may not want your product as such, but may know another buyer who would like your product or who has an interest in a certain type of product, the one that you are providing. They're able to share, and others are able to share with interest groups as well, which can drive sales. So interest groups, when I say interest groups, I'm talking about also writers, bloggers, anyone who's interested in this kind of product or products from Southern Africa or the space that the specialty food operates in. Okay. More recommendations now. To stay competitive in the digital business space and in the post-COVID era, it's important to really start to hone in and to focus on your marketing capabilities. To be intentional in your marketing of your company and your product, firstly, it's important to research your market and competitors. If you're selling, you're automatically competing. There are hundreds of other products that are similar to yours from across the globe. And it's important to research what your market wants, and then what your competitors are doing. So that helps you to readjust your tactics, readjust your outlook, and readjust your tools. The next thing is to define your brand's unique selling point. So you might find that you are selling a product. So for example, in the specialty food live event, during the event, there were products that were similar. So it's important to, when you're writing a description of your product, you try as much as possible to bring out what makes your product unique, special. So it could be that it's preservative free, that it is produced in a way that is beneficial to the community, that brings value, or that preserves or protects the environment. There are many things that buyers want to see that are not just how the product looks and feels or tastes, but how it contributes to society and how it contributes and how they can also further market to their value chain based on what you have said from the beginning. You need to invest or revamp your digital marketing and branding strategy. So your research, your marketing research and your unique selling point will speak to how you craft your marketing strategy. Obviously, it'll be contained in that. Your strategy may be at a certain point today, but it needs to develop as time goes on to include how you're going to operate in a post-COVID era where you may not be able to attend physical events anymore. So you'll incorporate in there how you're going to be more visible in the virtual space, how you're going to include social media tools, how you're going to rework your website, including search engine optimization, so that if anyone is searching your company on Google, they can quickly go into, if you've linked yourself in that way and you've used search engine optimization, you're searchable more quickly and anyone around the world can find you more easily. Okay, next slide, please. So more recommendations on marketing tactics. This will also speak to what you will include in your marketing strategy going forward. Imagery. So this is, I'm going to talk about imagery, product profiling, and intentionality. In terms of imagery, it's important to budget for periodic photo shoots of your products so that you're ready for new and virtual events. Your product may look a certain way today, and you may maybe include more ingredients or change your packaging or your labeling, it's important to keep updating your photos so that you're ready when you go onto your next event and that you don't rush and start taking quick pictures. You can hire a photographer. A photographer will assist you to package your product in a way that is attractive to a buyer. Remember, in a virtual event, a person cannot touch, feel, or taste your product, but it should look so inviting that they feel like they've already tasted it, they've already touched it. So take photos of your full product range and the specific variety of products to create and write captions for the buyer to be able to differentiate them. So you might find that you have a certain flavor that is different from the other. It's important to ensure that we differentiate that difference. So we create that is visible, that there's a difference between your products. Product profiling in terms of content writing. It's important to engage a professional content writer to create compelling marketing copy for your products. As I mentioned before, we cannot touch, feel, or taste your product in a virtual event. But if your description of your product is written in the most enticing way, the most exciting way, that a potential buyer feels like they've already seen it, tasted it, touched it. And content writing creates what we call an emotional connection to a product, to your brand, and to what you're doing. Because, for example, as I mentioned before, within your content writing, you could incorporate how your product speaks to the environment, how it speaks to the community, how you're impacting the world with your product. And that can be brought out with your actual, the writing of your product. Create digital brochures, flyers, and update your logos. So as we are operating in a virtual space more and more, it's important to prepare and start budgeting for and including in your marketing strategy how you're going to use marketing collateral, such as brochures, flyers, and logos change. Your logo is the life of your product. It's what we see first. It's what we identify your product with. Sometimes it evolves, it develops, and you could include that in your marketing strategy as well. How your logo, your brand identifier is going to develop over time. It is important that you decide whether you want it to change a little bit to enhance it, to make it look more modern, more stylistic, or whether you want it to remain the same. It's really up to you, and that is part of your strategy going forward as well. Intentionality. So in talking about intentionality, I'm talking about when you're entering into a virtual event, you need to enter having made the decision of whether you want to state your level of trade readiness in your messaging. So you can incorporate that in different ways. In the way you write about your product, for example, you can indicate whether you have export experience already. You can state your interest or ability to provide samples, because in events such as the Specialty Food Live, there were content writers who were scouring the pavilions to see whether they like certain products, and they can only write, some of them stated that they can only write about products if they have sampled them. So if you're able to sample, it's really great if you can put it there up front that you can send samples over, and that will create that interest from writers as well, and from buyers who would like to buy if they've sampled the product. Provide clear contact details. So this will help with follow-up of potential buyers. Indicate your openness to media coverage from food bloggers, magazine writers, and the Specialty Food Live media team itself, because they are also happy to cover news and articles about your products. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay, so the last recommendation is on communication. So it's important to stay in touch with the USAID Trade Hub representative in your country, to engage with other regional sellers in the USAID Trade Hub's WhatsApp group. So this allows you to network, to understand what's going on in the region, to learn from more experienced exporters or those who have been in the field for a long time. They know the hurdles, they know the challenges, excuse me. They know how to send over samples, for example, whether companies can pool together to send samples. These are things that we learn when we communicate with each other and to network with each other as regional sellers. It's important to also attend pre-event webinars and other learning programs throughout the year. To give feedback where required on how the USAID Trade Hub can support you. So through surveys and pre and post-event webinars. So you'll remember before the Specialty Food Live event started, there was a pre-event webinar. This webinar assisted in understanding what we're getting into when the event starts, what the platform will look like, what you're supposed to exhibit. So it's an orientation session for you to be able to prepare your material, to prepare emotionally, to prepare mentally in every way that you need to, and to organize your business in such a way that you're able to fully participate. So giving feedback to us through surveys is really important because it helps the USAID Trade Hub to tailor events to your needs. It helps us to know whether events met your needs or whether we can improve in our communication, in our assistance in any way, and how we can also strengthen the country representatives to better meet your needs as well throughout the year and throughout the events that we have. Thank you very much. That brings me to the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Mimosa. Those are really great insights. I would like to open the floor now to take comments, feedback, and also, most importantly, questions from those of you who were there, and also, of course, people who did not participate in the SFL 2021, but are quite keen to know how to participate next time. So this is an opportunity for you to raise those pertinent questions and to get feedback. Quite a lot of the Trade Hub colleagues were there in the event, and so they are in a position to be able to give you insights into how to better navigate such future virtual platforms and also your own personal online spaces. So please raise your hand and unmute yourself and ask your question. But while we are waiting to take questions, I have one, Mimosa, that I would like to get your thoughts on. You mentioned quite a few of the tips you gave was on engaging content writers and also photographers and videographers to develop high quality material to showcase your brand or your product. So for those firms or exhibitors who have limited resources, what are some of the strategies you think they can adopt to ensure that they can still gain brand visibility even if they don't have as visually and enticing photos or videos to show?
Thank you, Sally, for the question. You know, building a brand is a step-by-step process. You know, you start with taking photos and videos with your own phone, on your own, and learning to edit them and so on. And then you move to the next level where you hire a photographer or and so on. You start writing your own content, and then you move on to getting a professional content writer. So I think everyone can make a difference in the space that they're in and with the resources and the abilities that they have, the most important thing is to understand that it is important to do so. It is important to understand that when you put up a product, it must have a description that is full. So we start little by little, and the level of content writing will change as your product and your brand develops. There are very new products at the moment, or companies that have just arrived in the market. So it's just a matter of being aware and being exposed to what's out there. Also, look at competitor products. Look at what's going on. Read food blogs, read magazines online, and see the style that is used in writing, the style of placing photos and photo shoots. You can do your own photo shoot. You know, you can invest in your own camera. You can use your own smartphone camera for videos. It's easy to do, but exposure is the most important thing to see what's happening out there.
So we have a comment, feedback, question from Christine Smith. I never realized how important social media and websites were to our product. I always saw it as a public just being able to abuse you on it if they wanted to. But hearing you today, it's really important. But will these platforms only be for buyers or public as well? My concern is always someone in the public is disgruntled, then puts a negative comment on that, and one comment can ruin you. That is great feedback, Christine, I must say.
Yeah, thanks, Christine. That is really a great observation. And you know what? Our audiences are getting younger and younger. Our buyers, everybody's getting into the social media space. The younger people want to use social media for everything. They check you, they verify you, they shame you, they do everything on social media. So the sooner we begin to understand that a lot of what we put out there and the feedback we get will be on social media, on being put on blast, what they call being put on radio blast to the whole world, really, is daunting at first. But as you go along, you realize that it's quick, it's easy. Your clients can really come from, or your buyers can really come mostly a lot through social media. So it has its vices, but it has a lot of advantages as well. And it gives you validation. As I'm saying, some people or buyers will check you out on Facebook or Twitter, on Instagram first before they can believe that you are as good as you say you are. So it's very important to not fear that space. And when you do get negative feedback, it's important as a seller or a business operator to understand that you have to begin to create processes of handling complaints, of handling bad feedback, and that should also be included in your strategy as well. So you might want to begin to appoint someone who deals with that kind of feedback, or maybe your marketing or branding person, or yourself as a business owner. But it's important to begin to weave that into your business processes. It is part of the new world that we moved into.
Thanks, Mamos. I also wanted to add the point about negative feedback. I wanted to highlight in particular that for a lot of buyers, the social media platforms are where they can get first-hand feedback from people who have had some experience buying from you. So how you respond will give them insights as to whether to move forward with buying the product. That is why it's important, as Mamosa has mentioned, that you engage. You don't ignore such questions or such complaints, that you respond, because I think we should give credit to the audience or to people who navigate social media platforms, that they can be discerning enough to see from your response whether the feedback is just a negative one to paint you in a bad light, or if it has some form of credibility. So it's quite important to ensure that you are active on your various social media platforms. Even if the volume of inquiries you're getting is high, you should ensure to the extent possible that you are on the page and you are responding, and that you are not leaving any comments, or most importantly, if it's negative feedback, that you are responding to it and you are presenting evidence to counter the negative claims. So that is a good thing to note. Another coming in from, okay, I think I see that Cause has responded to that. And I think also at the end, perhaps our other colleagues on the call will be able to share insights as to how the Trade Hub can, whether there are any activities in the works that can facilitate this capacity building and engagement and development of abilities of the people, the firms who want to exhibit at future events, whether there is any platform or planned activities that they can tap into. While we wait for other questions to come in, another thing that struck me as you were making your presentation, Mamosa, was about the role of content writers and food bloggers, and quite a few of them were at SFL 2021, and you said they were there navigating the pavilions, watching out for products that they could write about. But with so many products on offer and competing for the limited attention of these very valuable content writers, what are some of the tactics you think we can employ to grab their attention, ensure that they give a good review or credible review of our products, given that there are so many on offer?
Thanks, Sally. Yes, so during the SFL event, there was actually a tab for media. So you can actually go in there and check who is representing the media or writers. So they will be in there, and you are able to check what kind of writer they are, what kind of content producer they are, and then begin to engage with them directly. Some of the writers contacted the USAID Trade Hub out of knowing the Trade Hub from other events, and they stated their interest in blogging for some of our writers, or whoever is actually interested in putting themselves forward. And we actually sent out an email to exhibitors to say, there's this blogger who would like to feature you. They have a few questions. Would you like to participate? So what I'm saying now is, it's important to come to the event having made up your mind about whether this is the kind of thing you want to do. And if you do, then to prepare yourself with your responses, with the way that you just, engage, be able to look for them early on during the event and start engaging with them. So that's
Thanks. Right. There was a question from Elmine about, if I hope I got your name correct, who was inquiring about how to send samples collectively to potential buyers. And there's also quite a lot of curiosity about upcoming SFL events. So I don't know if Cos can come on camera and help us to respond to both questions about shipping or sending samples as a group to potential buyers, and also the question to clarify about the upcoming Summer Fancy Food Show and any other planned events, Cos.
Thank you, Sally, and thanks to Elmian and David. I see you've asked questions there. So yes, the Summer Fans Food Show is happening, and this year it's going to be a hybrid event. So the venue that we often use, it's limited, so they're only allowing exhibitors from within the US to exhibit physically. But the rest of the exhibitors, international exhibitors, will participate virtually, just like the Special Food Live event. We still to get more details about how they are going to structure it, and once we get that information will be shared with special food firms from the region. Then your next question about consolidated shipments. Whilst it's a very good idea, it has got its own negatives and challenges and benefits. We have had experience in the past where 3-4 companies came together, shipped for international shows. Then only one company's documents and products were not in order, and that ended up delaying products from the rest of the other companies arriving. Some actually never arriving, others arriving a day before the show closes. So you need to, if you are coming together, you just need to have a very experienced shipper or freight forwarder who makes sure that products documentation is really in place, so that you do not experience any further delays caused by just one or even two that you consolidated with. So that's my feedback. And David is asking about the May show. Yes, the May one is happening, although we are not actively participating in it, but it's taking place. Thank you.
Thanks, Cos. So Mamosa, one of the things I found interesting from your presentation about participation in the pavilion was you noted that there were a few companies that initially started on a very slow note. So they didn't showcase their products. They were not visible at all in the pavilions or in their stands. And then on the second and third day, they picked up, they started showing more visual products and videos, and they started to link to their social media platforms and websites. So I'm curious to see what caused that shift, whether it was the support from the Trade Hub or whether it was navigating the pavilions and seeing what others were exhibiting. So if you're one of those people who had a slow start, I would really encourage you to share your experiences here so that we could all learn from it. Also because it helps us to know the kind of support we need to provide for future events, whether there needs to be enough support on the technical side for you to be able to navigate the platform, or whether we need to have more than one pre-event webinar where we can then explain what is expected in terms of branding and marketing in the pavilion. So I would really urge you, those of you who are on the call and actively participated, to give us some insights. I know you've already shared quite a few, which went into the survey that the survey findings that we had following the event, but it'll also be good to hear it, especially as it pertains to marketing and branding and your experiences in the pavilion. So if you could offer to share your insights, those of you who had a slow start or even any other experience at all in the event and navigating the pavilion, that will be, I'll encourage you to share that. And also it'll be good to hear from some of you about what has been your experiences generally on online marketing following the event, whether you felt the event kickstarted your online marketing activities or platforms, and how you think you're going to leverage the event to better do this. I see somebody's coming on camera. I don't know if you want to contribute. I guess not. Do we have any further questions? We are almost at the tail end of the event, so of the webinar, the session. So this is your opportunity to raise those questions and get feedback and insights and on how to raise your branding and marketing to the next level.
Yes, I agree, Sally. It would really be nice for me to hear from the exhibitors now what they experienced, what their challenges were. You know, I saw your names, I saw your products, but I'd like to hear from you. It would be good.
Yeah. Okay, I see a hand. Oh, yes, Golden, if you can go ahead and make your submission. Thanks.
Oh, I see Claudia has raised a hand, so maybe go with Claudia first.
Okay, all right. Claudia, over to you.
Hi, Sally. Hi, Mamosa. Thanks so much for a great presentation. Um, just for me, feedback on the show very quickly. And it was funny because it was shared by quite a few of the buyers that I interacted with. We said it was a lot more useful and practical, a lot less fun. Usually, a big part of a trade show is obviously the fact that you get to have this personal connection. You get to perhaps have some drinks or dinner after with the buyers. You create a relationship, which is a lot more difficult to do when you're doing online. But the tools that SFA gave us for sales matching, the possibility of actually getting all your information in one go to really sort of scout for the right buyers, gave us, I think, in terms of returns of hot leads, a much better return than a normal show at a less cost, you know? So I think the virtual part of it, when you start, like Mamosa said, you start kind of exploring the tools that you have, you start preparing all your marketing material. We had very, very good leads that we're following at the moment. And we had perhaps more good leads than what we had in the past. You know, you avoid the people that are really interested in just your tasting samples and that's it. On the other hand, what we discover as Black Mamba is that we're still missing the link of an importer in the States. We do a lot of direct importing or exporting, and that works for larger volumes, but there was so much interest for smaller e-commerce platforms that are the ones that are obviously growing more at the day, the direct to consumer, and so much interest, but obviously shipping either air freight or sea freight for order of just a few cartons doesn't make any financial sense for us or for the buyer. So we still, you know, like, unfortunately, I think we're going to lose some of those potential leads because of that issue, and we didn't manage to get a proper sort of idea of a food importer. We got to talk to quite a few food brokers, but we're still debating. I think it's still the missing link for us, but in all, I think it was a great experience and a great show for us.
Thank you. Thanks. That's really, really useful feedback for us, Claudia. So thanks for mentioning that. Golden, if you still have a submission to make.
Yes, thank you. It actually links to what Claudia talked about. My question was going to be, what can we do with you to make you more effective when it comes to participation in these events and follow up after the events? And one of the issues that you're just mentioning now, Claudia, in terms of absence of an import agent in the US is a limitation for some types of buyers who need small quantities. So I guess back to you, the question could be, what can we usefully do working with you and others to make it possible for you to maximize on those opportunities?
Do you want me to answer that question, Golden?
Yes, Claudia.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. So I think what you guys are doing is already amazing, you know, providing this support in terms of, for instance, what you're doing with the e-commerce platforms that allow us to actually do that D2C in the States has been amazing. Putting us in touch with potential suppliers and also offering financial support for doing that is great. I think it's something that we've discussed already in the past, especially with Cosmas and Tammy here directly in Eswatini. And I know we've done some approaches with, for instance, in the past with Red Oak, but I think finding that sort of potential supplier that would be willing to take on, you know, the plunge with Southern Africa specialty food brands would be amazing. And I think so far the work has been great. And I'm talking very selfishly only from Black Mamba's perspective. There is such a huge world out there of potential links for importing products. We haven't been successful at finding the right ones, and perhaps Southern Africa Trade Hub has more, obviously, networks and links to help us find that piece. And that would be for us specifically, basically.
Thanks, Claudia. Brenda, do you have a question or a comment or feedback on that you want to share?
Hi, yeah, thank you once again for the opportunity. And I started off slowly to get everything into place for the platform. But what I found afterwards is the difficulty of people getting samples. So it was really expensive for us to get samples and to actually have genuine feedback from the people who asked for the samples. So at huge cost, and then you're trying to follow up, and then they say, oh, well, now it's not viable, now it's not this. So that was an issue for me personally. We had quite a few people on the platform asking us to send samples. They would be influencers, or they would be helping us with branding. And I wasn't sure how valuable that was in the long term unless you knew that that was going to go to the right people. So I kind of felt that there was something missing. There was a little link missing for me in a way. I'm not sure if anybody else felt that. But thank you. It was an incredible opportunity, and I have learned a great deal from it.
Thanks, Brenda. I'm mindful of time, so Mamosa, you look like you want to respond to that.
Yeah,
Yes.
I wanted to just respond to Brenda's comment in the end. When you're approached by people who say they're content writers and they can help you bring your brand out, and you may find that they're not going to do what you thought they were going to do. I think at that stage, it's important to just contact the Trade Hub as well, for us to just follow up and see and do some background information and check that you're not wasting your time, or that these are really good people that you can share your contact with and know that they're really going to do what they say they're going to do. So, I mean, every email you answer and every engagement you take your time to engage in is time taken from you. So you don't want to waste any moment engaging in an activity that may not return what you're expecting. So just keep us engaged, and let's work on it together.
Okay, thank you. That's great.
I think one final question came up on shipment again, and I think that is something that Francis Kos has his hand up, and I would ask our colleague Francis to get ready to give her closing remarks and round off this session. Kos, yeah, you may respond.
Okay, I just wanted to respond to Brenda's question regarding conducts in the US, just to verify, because it's very important, obviously, to verify. I just wanted to add that we have got a very important partner that we work with, the South African Consulate General in New York. If you have some companies that you feel probably you need someone to do a bit of due diligence on them, please reach out. You can reach out to us. You can reach out to them directly, and they have been so far. They've been very helpful. In a matter of days, they revert with comments. Then you are able to make kind of an informed decision. Probably this could also apply to other companies from different countries, also approaching your diplomatic presence in the US for that kind of due diligence, because they are on the market, they are on the ground. So, but the SA Consulate General has been very, very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you so much for all your contributions. Can I invite Frances to give us the closing remarks? Thanks, Mamosa.
Thanks, Sally. So Frances is engaged, unless she has managed to join now, but she's engaged in another session. So I'll stand in for her. Just to thank everyone.
I think there was a question I missed from Namupa about an upcoming cosmetics virtual exhibition, if any is in the works. If you could also respond to that in your closing remarks. Thank you.
Okay. At this stage, Namupa, thanks very much for your question. At this stage, we are not sure. However, you might remember that we had a cosmetics event in partnership with the South African Consulate General and SECOSA here in the Cosmetics Export Council in South Africa last year. And the agreement then was that we should have a follow-up session that would involve more US buyers. So in terms of an exhibition that's in place, personally, I do not have the details. Then I see there's another question from my Elmian. Would it be a possibility to send one shipment to the US and perhaps then being distributed in the US to different potential customers? So what you'd need is a relationship or to identify someone with a warehouse who can do storage for you in the US and then do distribution. But there are entities that we are talking to, the likes of On the Deck. Their plan is to make sure that they create a hub. So this is something that they are planning, to create a hub that would house products from Southern Africa. And from there, it's distributed. Oh, you're talking about samples, sending samples is one shipment. Are you talking consolidation as well? We address the consolidation. If it's samples, then well, what we are trying to do is to cut down on the cost. So it does make sense. Definitely does make sense. I see Elmin has got a hand up. Probably she just wants to clarify to a question.
Morning, Cos. The idea is if we say, for instance, I had to send 5 or 10 samples over. If we can send it as one shipment and already made up in addressed on the other side, and once it gets to the other side, for instance, if it goes to the embassy or the consulate, and then from there it's distributed in the postal system of the States, it will be much cheaper for us to send one sample over and then distribute it there rather than sending separate samples individually. So that's the question, and the question. Thanks,
Elman, for that comment. If there's someone who would want to attend to that, but that's a great idea. If you're talking about the consulates, then obviously you need to reach out to and have an arrangement and understand how the consulate would operate when it comes to samples. But for me, that's a great idea. Right. So in the absence of further questions, comments, allow me to thank you all for participating in this webinar. It really means a lot to see how many firms are really eager to take advantage and to increase their presence in the US and other markets, obviously, and improving on their how they showcase their products. And USA Trade Hub made a decision to create the Africa Fine Foods Pavilion as a brand for the region. And the more the success that we generate from the exhibitors, participants, it means a lot. So the Africa Fine Foods Pavilion has been showcased at the Gulf Food Show in Dubai, at the IFT show in New Orleans, at the Summer Fans Food Show in New York, and now virtually. Right. So the next thing is we have done several webinars up to now, and you are free to access them on our website, the www.satihub.com. Please feel free to visit us and access what has taken place already. Next slide. Right. We also have upcoming events which we would want to share with you. We've got a regional trade service providers TPSP event taking place in Eastern Cape on Friday, the 26th of March. This is in collaboration with the Eastern Cape Development Corporation, and it's meant for regional trade investment promotion service providers, the likes of business chambers of commerce and industry, and other trade investment promotion agencies. Then we have on the 31st, we've got the financial service providers workshop to reflect and pave a sustainable way forward in terms of, this is focused on finance and investment. There's also a virtual Western Cape Agriculture Export Week. So the virtual event is taking place on March the 31st. It's being hosted or spearheaded by Westgrow. Those are some of the upcoming events that will be taking place in the near future. Then, as indicated during our welcome session, we have got boots on the ground in each of the 8 countries. So please feel free to reach out to your country representative, those in Botswana, Eswatini, Lesotho, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa, and Zambia. In each of these countries, there's a team that you can reach out to for more information, for follow-up sessions, and to better understand how USA Trade Hub is supporting the exporters. Next slide.
That was the last slide, course.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Tsepiso. And again, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for participating, and thanks to the team that was handling this session. Thank you.